Welcome everyone to this free webinar from Laba. So as you can see, I'm not Albert, obviously. I'm just going to run through some small housekeeping topics, and then I'll pass over to Albert for the content section as well. So if you could just move to the next slide, please, Albert. So first of all, just a quick sound check. I presume everyone can hear me okay. If you can, just kind of use a thumbs up in Zoom or one of the little reaction functions. And if you do have any issues, we have got community people on hand, so just raise that in the chat. So the purpose of this kind of webinar is to become more attuned to your marketing and sales team's needs and challenges and foster a collaborative team culture and lead through change with an empowering approach and drive team satisfaction and ultimately business success. Now, obviously, I'm not going to sell it as well as Albert is. I'll leave that bit to him. So if you could just move to the next slide, please. Thank you. So this webinar was essentially designed for sales and marketing managers who report into the CRO and want to improve that collaborative network and improve their competencies in leading teams. It's also suitable for mid-level sales and marketing professionals who are looking to move into that team lead role. And of course, any and all motivated professionals just looking for a little bit of self-improvement as well. Thank you. So you can see the agenda here. I mean, this outlines the topics Albert's going to cover, so I won't go through them one by one, but it's just good to have an outline of what you can expect in the coming 90 minutes. So quickly just a rundown of who we are then. So Laba is an online educational group, and we established an edtech company based out of Europe and the US. And you can see our different brands in here: Laba, Elevator, etc. Now we offer high quality courses with industry leading experts from large recognizable companies. So we've worked with Microsoft in the past, IBM, Google, Netflix, and obviously Albert has come to us from Meta. So we have 7 years in the market at this point, and our courses have been attended to by 90k plus students, and those have been from 40 different countries across the globe. So our courses cover a wide range of topics. We've got management courses, HR courses, finance, marketing. We do have some soft skill courses as well. We teach online only, but all of these are live sessions, so it's not pre-recorded content. We're not selling you video packages or anything like that. We love live interactive sessions where you can really get to know your instructor and interact with them in real time. What I would say off the back of this is we are launching a course on marketing strategy on May 17th. So if that type of topic interests you alongside what's kind of being discussed here, then please do check out our website, Laba UK. So safe to say, Albert, I'll let you take over, and that's all from me.
Perfect. So hello, everyone. Albert Chan here. I feel a little bit more pressure and gratitude that all of you are here even after the technical difficulties. So hopefully I'll continue to exceed your expectations, but it is an honor and pleasure to have the opportunity to chat with all of you today about empowering sales and marketing teams. So before we begin, just let me share a little bit about my professional background and experiences. So I have nearly 20 years of sales and marketing experience. Started my career at Procter & Gamble, and then I did a 180 and went to Google. So I went from selling, call it toilet paper and laundry detergent, to like digital advertisements for Google search, YouTube, etc. After I finished business school, I became the chief revenue officer at an AI analytics company where I oversaw sales and marketing. But I missed big tech for some reason, and I came back, and now I'm the director and head of sales for North America small business group at Meta. Now that I've kind of introduced myself, I would love to see who we have on the line. So if you don't mind, if you can just type into the chat, I can read it here. Your name, your role, company, city that you're currently in, and potentially, one main problem or resolution that you want to hear about today. Just take a quick moment. Folks want to just type a little information there. I can also do the same on my end. There, I have entered my thoughts and my information. Anyone else would love to just C. Well, as you're doing that, we'll just continue, I guess, for the interest of time. As leaders, it is essential to overcome challenges and lead our marketing and sales teams through change. And so we will discuss strategies for overcoming these challenges and setting actionable goals for empowering your sales and marketing teams. So what we're going to do actually is we will have a breakout session later on today for you to apply some of the frameworks and learnings immediately in small groups, which will hopefully make you more effective at bringing it back to your organization. So let's get started, okay? So the first topic that I want to cover with all of you today is the importance of empowering sales and marketing teams. First and foremost, let's talk about empowerments. Like, what does it mean? Does anyone want to just kind of take a stab at what it means to you? If not, I'll only just take a moment here. Anyone want to take a moment and just share with the group, what does empowerment mean? You can either type it out or you can just come off mute. No worries. I don't put anyone on the spots, but if something does come to mind, feel free to enter it. I can see some of the messages coming along, right? But for me, it's all about granting your teams the autonomy, authority, and responsibility to make decisions and take action, right? So when your sales and marketing teams are empowered, they do take that ownership to stay motivated and strive to achieve their goals. And this symbiotic relationship leads to a more remarkable increase in productivity, performance, and a significant impact to your bottom line. Thank you to a few folks that have shared your information as well. Makes a lot of sense and fully agree with them. So these are the 5 critical pillars to empower your teams and drive your business forward. The first one's around encouraging risk-taking and creativity, right? Which is, how do we unleash the innovators in your organization? A few ideas might be adopting a fail-fast mindset, allowing team members to learn from their mistakes and iterate quickly, allowing employees to pitch and pursue their own ideas for new products, services, and processes. Tech companies, especially early on, were really known to enable and encourage their teams and their people to actually take these risks, right? So when I was at Google, I was encouraged by my management saying, what risks do you want to take, right? Those calculated risks and projects that you want to take that are outside of your core competency. Let's see if they work or not, right? And so I think encouraging that psychologically safe environment to pursue those calculated risk environments and projects is key. The second one is around fostering data-driven decisions, right? Utilizing predictive analytics and AI tools. Like the hot buzzword right now is generative AI, ChatGPT, right? How do you leverage them to identify patterns and trends that may not be apparent through your traditional data? Also implementing data visualization tools to help your team members better understand those complex data sets and identify actionable insights. The third is around creating a team-oriented environment, right? Encouraging knowledge sharing and peer-to-peer mentoring to leverage the collective expertise of your team. Now, of course, I do want to call out, please be be aware of this issue when it's called the common information effect, right? Where people of diverse backgrounds, knowledge, and experience come together. Sometimes they only share what they feel like others want to hear or what others already know, right? So as managers, as leaders, our job is to be able to create that psychologically safe environment, pull those unique perspectives out of our folks so that we can make sure that we have a holistic approach and we're addressing all the blind spots. Fourth is around having regular training and development programs, right? Offering personalized learning paths tailored to each of the employees' unique needs, strengths, etc. And then finally, it's focusing on the work-life balance, right? Which is key to motivation and productivity. I will actually cover a lot of these in more detail throughout call it next hour and a half or so, okay? But I just want to provide you just kind of high-level framework of how to empower your sales and marketing teams. Now, one way to bring this all together is through this OKR framework. So this is the first framework that I want to introduce to all of you. It's OKR stand for objective and key results. It's actually, when I was at Procter & Gamble almost 20 years ago, this is what we used at Google. They too have OKRs and something very similar at Meta as well, right? So OKRs is a goal-setting framework that helps teams align their efforts with the organization's strategic objectives, right? Objectives are high-level qualitative goals, while key results are specific, measurable, and time-bound indicators that are used to track progress towards the objectives. And so by implementing OKRs, sales and marketing teams and other cross-functional partners can mutually focus on achieving results that contribute to the organization's overall success, right? And I've included some examples on the right side to see what this might look like for sales teams. What are those objectives? What are those 2 or 3 key results? And how does all of this for each of the functions bubble up to the overall company's OKRs? Okay. Now, here's a quick checklist to implement these strategies in your organization. First is to assess your current culture and identify areas of improvement, followed by developing a clear vision, sharing with your team, creating an open feedback loop for continuous improvement, setting those OKRs, and celebrating success and learn from failures. One thing I want to do before I move on to the second section is actually share with you a case study, and you'll actually see this kind of common theme of me sharing case studies throughout some of these topics, because I find that this is a really good way to learn. So Salesforce is the first one that I want to call out. They have a culture of empowerment that emphasizes innovation and collaboration, right? So the company's sales and marketing teams are encouraged to take risk and try new things, which has led to the development of new products and solutions. So for example, Einstein AI. So before there was ChatGPT and all the other AI solutions out there, Einstein AI was actually making a lot of waves in the industry. It was even on Jeopardy, the game show, right? And so Salesforce's artificial intelligence platform, Einstein, was developed in part by their sales and marketing teams, right, who recognize the potential for AI to improve their customers' experience. So the company took a risk, invested in the development of this technology, and integrated it into their products, which has since become a major selling point for their customers. Trailhead is another product. It is actually a learning platform that was developed again by their sales and marketing team, who recognized the need for ongoing education and training for their customers. And so they invested, they created and developed this platform, and they actually offered it for free, which has really helped differentiate Salesforce from a lot of their competitors out there. Let's transition a little bit now to the key challenges facing sales and marketing teams. So in today's fast-paced business environment, sales and marketing teams face a number of challenges that impact their ability to achieve their goals, right? And these challenges can include things like changing customer behavior, increased competition, market saturation, et cetera, right? So let's dive deeper into these key challenges facing both teams and explore some implications and strategies on how do we address them. The first key challenge facing sales and marketing teams is the changing customer behavior, right? The first one's around, kind of diving deeper, it's around personalized experiences. Today's customers crave and expect tailored experiences and bespoke recommendations, right? And what that means is that businesses need to invest in customer data analysis, CRM technologies, et cetera, to understand the customer's preferences and behaviors. For example, if you take a look at retail sites like Amazon, or even movie sites like Netflix or Spotify, they're doing a really good job recommending the next product you should buy, the next movie you should watch, or the next song that you might like. And the ones that are doing that the best are winning, right? And they're able to do that because they're using a lot of that customer data and analysis to figure out through their algorithms what do they think you're going to like next. Okay. The second area is around shorter attention spans, right? So the information out there has shortened customers' attention spans, right? Reducing their appetite for long form content like blog posts, white papers, etc. Instead, businesses now focus on bite-sized, visually stimulating content like videos, infographics, social media posts, etc. Hence the kind of explosion around things like TikTok, short form reels, etc. I see that there may be a couple of questions out there. When I have a moment, I'll address them, right? And if I don't get time to address it, please make sure that you bring it up at the end when we have our Q&A section, okay? But in the meantime, let me just kind of continue here for a minute, then I'll come back to the questions, okay? So speaking of TikTok, right, the third area of changing customer behavior is around social media dominance, right? Customers now linger longer on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, etc. It's interesting. It's kind of like this paradox where people want shorter form, faster bite-sized content, but they will stay on a platform and view a lot of that even much longer, right? And so as a result, businesses now need to bolster their social media marketing and invest in analytics to really better grasp the customer's behaviors and preferences, right? So sales and marketing strategy should really focus on this holistic approach of creating a personalized experience for customers, using data-driven insights to tailor messaging and outreach to individual needs, right? And this may involve in investing in CRM systems, automation tools, or leveraging social media and other digital channels to gather that customer feedback and insights. Okay. So let me just answer one of the questions out here, right? So do you mean B2B customer behavior only or B2B as well? So the one that I'm referencing here is more B2C, I would say. As I think about like B2B behavior, what we're observing through research that I got exposure to at Google, even here at Meta, is I would say the focus has still been around discovery, right? Consumers, businesses continue to be more focused on how can I ensure that what I'm looking for, right, I can easily find at my fingertips, right? And so that's why the generative AI, the chatbots, et cetera, are getting pretty big, both on the consumer side and on the business side, because they're able to answer their questions and answer what those businesses are looking for. Right now, obviously, some of the trends may be more focused on cost-cutting efficiency, right? But also, I would say, even for discovery of new products, new solutions, et cetera. We'll go into a little bit more on kind of like the value proposition framework and how do we think about that, right? So let me come back to this if after I share the frameworks, if it doesn't answer your question, right? So let me get back to it, okay? So the second key challenge here facing sales and marketing teams is increased competition, right? So as more businesses enter the market, the competition intensifies, right? Making it increasingly more difficult for companies to stand out, right? So here are some key aspects to consider. The first one's identifying that unique value proposition, right? So to differentiate themselves, companies must create this UVP that resonates with their target audience, right? And this could involve offering exceptional customer service, delivering innovative products, et cetera. So we will actually come back to this later with a group exercise after I introduce what the value proposition framework here is momentarily, okay? The second one is around building a strong brand, right? Developing a consistent message across sales and marketing, right? And a visual identity across all touch points, from marketing to packaging to retail, et cetera. third, it's around leveraging data and analytics, right? So obviously I mentioned a lot of the importance of data, CRM, et cetera, but it's also about some of the testing methodologies of employing A/B testing, right? Customer segmentation that are also really important to improve marketing campaigns and targeting. And then finally, it's around collaboration, strategic partnerships, right? Pursuing co-branding, co-marketing initiatives, either for complementary businesses or for knowledge sharing, exchange, and research. So for example, when I was at Procter & Gamble, we did a lot of research and cross-sharing with folks like Nielsen, right? When I was at Google, it was with Ipsos or consulting companies as well, right? And so we saw mutually benefit for having these co-marketing and co-relationships with one another. One case study that I want to share with you here, obviously, is this idea, right? And this, I guess, this battle between Coca-Cola and PepsiCo, right? So both companies have been competing for market share in the soft drink industry for decades, right? Which has led actually to various marketing and sales tactics. So in the 1980s, PepsiCo launched the Pepsi Challenge marketing campaign, which challenged consumers to taste test Pepsi against Coca-Cola. And this campaign was a huge success, right? It helped them gain market share from Coca-Cola without really having to change the formulation of the products. So in response, Coca-Cola came up with actually a new formulation called Coke Original. And this ping pong went of kind of going back and forth, went on for years, decades, right? And it's still going on in the soft drink industry. And the benefit of this type of healthy competition, of course, is really us, right? The consumers, we benefit from the call it product and also the commercial innovation when there are this increased competition going on in the marketplace, okay? And finally, the third challenge here is market saturation, right? So market saturation occurs when a particular industry has a limited number of potential customers and an abundance of competitors, right? So to succeed in this saturated market, companies have to consider the following strategies, right? So the first one is focusing on customer experience, right? So in saturated markets, providing that exceptional customer experience can be a powerful differentiator versus just focusing on price and discounting price, right? So companies should focus on enhancing every aspect of that customer journey, removing those points of friction from discovery to after-sales support. The second area is around implementing creative marketing strategies, right? So in a saturated market, it is crucial for businesses to employ creative and target marketing strategies that capture the attention of their potential customers. And so again, this may leverage social media, influencer marketing, et cetera. And then finally, it's about exploring new markets or channels, right? So expanding into new markets or sales channels can help businesses overcome the challenges of market saturation, right? So it's this idea of like red ocean versus blue ocean, right? If folks are familiar with that, that analogy in that book, right? And so one way you can move from this, call it red ocean, where everyone's competing and battling, into the blue ocean is to draw a 2x2 matrix where you have value proposition and target market on your axes. And you look at the quadrants either being existing or new, and you can start to plot out where are we now and where do we need to go, right? And how do we get there, right? And so I think one good example of market saturation impacting sales and marketing is the smartphone industry. The smartphone market has become increasingly saturated in recent years with numerous players competing with for market share. And I think one example that we're probably very familiar is the competition between Apple and Samsung, right? So to stay competitive, these companies aren't necessarily discounting heavily their phones, right? They're investing in customer retention and loyalty programs, right? Offering trade-in programs, extended warranties, other incentives and services to keep those customers loyal and engaged. So now one of the main tools to address the key challenges facing sales and marketing is the value prop framework. And so I talked about this a little bit earlier. So the way that this works is you first list out on the y-axis the attributes that are most important to your high value customers in priority order, okay? And then on the x-axis, you start to place dots where you would rank how your company and your competitors do when it comes to delivering on those attributes or criteria. Okay, so for example, let's say you're Walmart. Okay, so you're that red line, right? So as you can see, you are better at delivering low prices and selection across categories versus your competitors, right? Again, this is more of a subjective point of view, but I think we would all agree if we're familiar with these type of business models, right? But you're not as good at developing or delivering sales help or ambiance, right? But those are things that your loyal customers actually don't care about, right? So it's actually okay that you have strategically decided to focus on low prices and selection versus sales help and ambiance, right? So that is your value proposition, right? Walmart's value proposition. And if you were to connect those dots, which is what we've done here, you can see this / looking line. And that actually probably means you're quote unquote winning in the marketplace versus maybe some of your competitors that are more, call it horizontal, where they're not good or bad at anything, or you have this backward slash where the competition is good at things the loyal customers don't care about. Let me pause here. Does that make sense? Cool. I'm going to take silence as a yes. Great. So we're actually going to do a little bit of self-reflection time here. Okay. So this is an opportunity for you to take, call it 10 minutes to create your own value proposition framework, right? So it's all about application, right, for this webinar. So start by listing, call it 3 to 5 attributes that are important to your core customer for your company and for your business, okay? So instead of this laundry list here, you're only going to list 3 to 5 attributes in priority order, okay? And then for your company assessment, you're going to place a dot where each customer attribute and like kind of describes how well you think your company is delivering on that value, right? If you put your dot on the left side, it's not as well, more poorly. If you do it on the right side, it's a little bit better, right? So connect those dots, do that for your company, and then do an assessment for your competition as well, right? And see where they lie on this value proposition framework. Okay, connect those dots. And then maybe in like 5 or 10 minutes, we'll come back, and I would love to see if anyone wants to share their learnings from this exercise and any feedback on this exercise as well. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we can, yeah, we'll continue right now. And anyone want to come off mute or type in any learnings, any feedback on this experience? Does it make sense? Cool, no worries. If you come up with something, feel free to enter it into the chat here, okay? But in the spirit of time, like Adam mentioned, let's continue with this webinar, okay? So the third topic, apologies, someone I think is doing a little bit of construction work outside my house, but the third topic that I want to cover today is around aligning sales and marketing teams, okay? So let's discuss the importance of having the shared vision in sales and marketing, right? What are the key components of that shared vision, right? And how do we foster a sense of belonging and purpose amongst both of the teams? So the key components of a shared vision in sales and marketing include messaging and purpose, right? So messaging is the way in which the organization communicates its value prop to the target audience. A clear, consistent messaging strategy is essential to ensuring that the sales and marketing teams are communicating the same message to the target audience. Purpose refers to the reason why the organization exists, and it's essential for creating the sense of meaning and direction for sales and marketing teams, right? So when sales and marketing teams understand that purpose of the organization, they're more likely to feel motivated and committed to achieving the organization's goals. And so there are a few ways to foster a sense of belonging and purpose among sales and marketing teams. The first one's around shared metrics. So aligning sales and marketing teams starts with setting shared goals and metrics, right? So by having this shared understanding of what, for example, constitutes a qualified lead and what success looks like, both teams can work towards that same objective, right? So for example, by setting shared metrics like number of leads generated, converted to sales, et cetera, both teams can work towards that target, okay? The next one's around cross-functional teams, right? So creating cross-functional teams that include members from both sales and marketing teams can also help break down those silos and promote collaboration. I remember when I was at Procter & Gamble in marketing, we would many times invite our sales teams to join our agency calls so that they could provide a little bit more perspective on what would happen if we were to launch this. How would the retailers react? How would it react with some of the shoppers at the store online? And then vice versa, here at Meta, we constantly bring in our marketing folks just so that we understand what is the go-to-market approach and the communication, like I mentioned, so that all touch points of the, call it, customer journey is consistent, okay? And then third, it's around jointly developed content, right? So by working together to develop content, sales and marketing teams can ensure that that message is consistent, okay? You know, another example and case study that I want to throw out there that I think does a really good job of fostering a sense of belonging and purpose for sales and marketing is HubSpot, okay? Not sure how many folks know of HubSpot, right? But HubSpot is a leading inbound marketing sales software company, like a CRM, that has successfully created a strong sense of community amongst its sales and marketing functions. So one of the key ways that HubSpot fosters that sense of belonging and purpose is through its company's culture, right? So they have a strong focus on company values, such as we are one team, we solve for the customer, et cetera. And these values are actually woven into the fabric of the company that are reinforced through regular communication, training, collaboration, et cetera. And another way that HubSpot does foster the sense of belonging and purpose is through, again, like their cross-functional teams, where sales and marketing teams are actually encouraged to work together on projects and initiatives. And this also, I think this approach also helps break down their silos, promote collaboration, and just a better understanding of the company and its products. This framework, actually, the customer acquisition framework, is actually one of my favorite ones out there, because what I like about this framework is that it shows you, based on the customer life cycle, which is in green, what should your content strategy be? Where does that fall in the sales funnel? And which team is really the main point of contact, right? So depending on where the customer sits in this journey, when should you be pulling the awareness kind of content lever versus training, selection, et cetera? What are those KPI, those metrics that you should be aware and measuring depending on the cycle, right? And which teams really are the point of contact, and when is that handoff from one team to another? Okay, so this is a great framework that I think does a beautiful job of kind of showing you how marketing, sales, and other functions can collaborate. Okay. Transitioning to the fourth one, it's around communication, collaboration, and feedback, right? So for this section, I'm actually going to switch it up a little bit and introduce you to you three frameworks that you can use for questioning, feedback, and goal setting for your teams, for your customers, consumers, et cetera. So one of the best practices for effective communication is actually something called persuasive questioning, the 4 I's of questions. So information, issue, impact, and importance. And before I dive into what each of these are, what research shows is that there is little to no correlation between sales wins and closing sales and the number of information issue questions that are being asked. However, there is a strong correlation with closing sales and the number of impact and important questions asked. However, as you can imagine, it is much harder to ask those types of questions because they tend to be a little bit more intimate. Sales folks, marketing folks tend to be a little bit more uneasy asking them, right? Because they're afraid maybe the other party may not share. And so if we kind of define what each of these are, information questions are ones that uncover facts pertaining to the customer needs, conditions, etc. It can be things that you may find online on the company's websites, etc. Okay. Issue is around identifying specific challenges that cause the customer's current needs to exist. Impact is surfacing those consequences that the customer or the other stakeholder fails to resolve the problem or act on the opportunity in front of them. And then importance, which is identifying how important it is to the customer to find the solution that they need, right? And so here's an example on the right that kind of brings it to life potentially with a potential customer, okay? So you might start off with, what are your current marketing objectives? What issue are you having with your campaign performance? What do you think is the upside impact on your holiday sales if we were to implement these campaign changes? And how important is it to you that we resolve this now versus waiting? Okay, so as you can see, it becomes a very natural flow. However, it does take a little bit of practice. And so I would say that if you're going to leverage this framework, I would suggest you write out the questions, especially the impact and importance questions, because again, they tend to be a little bit harder, for folks to ask those questions. And so to write them out gives you the opportunity to not have to think on your feet as much when you need to ask those really crucial questions that actually have a high correlation to actual close of a sale, okay? The next framework that I want to share with you is the situation, behavior, impact, and request, the SBIR framework for providing feedback. So situation is describing the specific situation when the behavior occurred. Behavior is outlining the observable behavior, and the key word here is observable. Impact is actually explaining the effect the behavior had on the team, other folks, the project, etc. And request is what can that person do or consider doing next time. Okay, so obviously when providing feedback, it is essential to be specific and provide examples. This helps the team members really understand exactly what are they doing well and where can they improve. All right, it's also important to provide feedback in a timely manner so that team members can take action. All right, so here's what this might look like, okay, on the left here, right? So this morning, right, it's like, hey, Frank, right, this morning during that team meeting, I observed that you were interrupting a lot of the speakers when they were speaking. Probably wasn't your intention, but it did come off as if you were dismissing their points. So I suggest that we work together on how to actively listen and ask the right questions after each speaker has had the opportunity to share his or her point of view, okay? I think in our jobs, we have to give feedback quite a bit, right? To our people, to our peers, even to our managers as well. So I have found that this framework really takes the emotion out of it, and it really focuses on kind of the observable insights and facts, okay? And the third framework that I want to share with you in this section is something called the GROW framework. And it's actually something that I've seen used across many consulting companies out there. It's used for goal setting, and it stands for goal, reality, options, and way forward. And so it really boils down to, what is the goal? Where are we now? How can we close that gap, right? And let's align on what are those action plans to get us there, okay? Now, I would love if we can maybe do a breakout session, but I'll defer to Adam if this makes sense, right? But I would love for folks to have the opportunity to break out in groups, pick one of the frameworks, one of the 3 frameworks that you want to potentially practice applying into your own business or organization, right? And then kind of think about like, what are the particular communication challenges this framework could address, right? And what are the first 2 steps that you would need to take in order to implement this communication framework in your team? Does that make sense for folks?
I think it makes sense, Albert, if we just do the one. I think we've got 2 in the webinar in total, if I'm correct. But we'll start with the one. So I think Jordan can break people out into rooms, and then we can reconvene in 5 to 10 minutes.
Perfect. And so, as we're doing that, if folks want to just quickly take a screenshot of, or just like take your phone out, take a picture on your phone, just so you can see the instructions and also the frameworks, it might help with your discussions in your breakout groups. Okay. So maybe am I unmuted now? Okay, perfect. I think we may have lost my screen share. So let me just reshare my screen. Can everyone see this? I see a couple of thumbs up. Perfect. Okay, so any feedback, any thoughts on the breakout session? What anyone want to share? What you discussed? Any learnings? Cool. Well, on my side, like I was very fortunate to be in a group, and we talked a little bit, actually not about these 3 frameworks. We talked a little bit more about the marketing funnel framework that was on a few slides earlier. Let's say we have a hand, Alexander.
It's okay. I would just want to share that it was good experience, and then I try to get the hand off and then just press it. Thanks.
Got it. Thank you for your engagement and feedback, Alexander. Anyone else want to share? Otherwise, we'll continue in the spirit of time. We'll continue moving forward. Okay. Great. So we're actually going to transition to our last topic here, which is overcoming challenges and leading through change, right? So in today's fast-paced business environment, change is constant, right? As we all know. And so sales and marketing managers need to be prepared to lead their teams through that change, whether it be for new product launches, shift to new market trends, right? Change in leadership. Right. And so leading through change, as we know, is not an easy task, right? And so sales and marketing teams can experience a variety of challenges during these times, right? So they could be things like resistance, lack of buy-in, uncertainty, which then leads to anxiety and stress. And so sales and marketing managers, our jobs is this need to provide clear communication and direction to alleviate a lot of this uncertainty and ensure that team members feel supported throughout the process, right? Because at the root of it all, people want to know 3 things. What's changing for them? Why is change necessary? And what will this quote unquote new world look like after all the change is made? And so to overcome the challenges of leading sales and marketing teams through this change, we need to be prepared with strategies to address each of these challenges. Okay, so first is setting clear expectations, right? So clarifying expectations can really mitigate the resistance and ensure team members understand their roles, right? Involving those team members, right, which means increasing the buy-in by involving them early and throughout the process so that you can get them and convert them from critic to champion of the change, right? And this also fosters more of a sense of value, support, gives them opportunity to provide feedback, to be heard, etc. Third one is communicating regularly, right? It's a 2-way street, right? So being transparent is vital during this change, right? Providing regular updates, etc. And then finally, it's about providing support, right? So change can be taxing, right? So offering support throughout the process, things like training, development opportunity, resources, that can also help manage stress and anxiety out there, okay? And I think the final case study that I want to share with all of you is actually one of Microsoft, right? And under the leadership of CEO Satya Nadella, right? Because when Satya took over as CEO in 2014, he recognized back then that Microsoft needed to make significant changes to stay competitive in this rapidly evolving tech industry, right? And so one of the main goals was to shift the company's focus from traditional software product to cloud-based services and solutions. And recently, in the past, call it 6 months, he's actually made another shift for Microsoft to be the leading AI company out there, okay? So to achieve all of these different changes and huge organizational shifts, Satya has had to lead a major cultural shift within the campaign, as well as reorganize the sales and marketing teams to better align with the new strategies, right? So he's encouraged open communication collaboration across the teams, implemented new sales models that rewarded customer success and more long-term relationship building versus short-term revenue goals. I happen to live in Seattle, Washington, which is Microsoft's headquarter in their backyard, right? And so a lot of my neighbors and friends talk about a lot of the things that are called out in this case study of how they feel more heard, more involved, that their leaders are doing a much better job rewarding customer success and long-term goals, while kind of little less on kind of the short-term revenue goals out there, okay? And so with that, actually, let me just say, kind of close it all out. Throughout my career, my observation, which is actually probably very similar to all of yours, is that sales and marketing is very siloed, right? As we illustrated today, right? So even though both groups are trying to attract and serve the same consumer, right? The success of any organization is closely tied to the performance of its sales and marketing teams. So empowering these teams can result in increased productivity, efficiency, and ultimately better results, right? However, there are many challenges, right, facing sales and marketing teams in the current business environment, which we cover today, right? So hopefully some of the concepts and frameworks shared with you today can help you bridge that gap and foster a more in-sync organization between marketing and sales. So with that, just want to say thank you for your time and engagement. Apologies for the technical difficulties earlier today. It was definitely a pleasure to be able to talk with all of you. I'll now kind of turn it over to you for any final thoughts or questions.
So if anyone has any questions, obviously you can unmute yourself if you're comfortable doing so, but also feel free to just kind of post them in the chat as well. And from our side, thank you very much, Albert. That was brilliant, really interesting, really engaging. So thank you very much for delivering that. And yeah, apologies from our side as well for the technical difficulties, but now's your chance to interact. So really take this opportunity and, you know, ask as many and all questions as you can, because this is your one chance, I suppose.
Hey, Adam, there's a question from Adelina about potentially sharing the presentation.
So basically, after this session, probably tomorrow, you'll all receive an email which will have the recording of this session on it as well. So what you can do is just kind of go back through that and reread any slides that you're interested in, and obviously kind of pick up on any topics that Albert touches. So we will share the recording with you all.
Yeah, and Alexander, so as folks are thinking about their questions, Alexander, kind of going back to your great question earlier about changing customer behaviors for more of the B2B sector versus B2C, right? You know, I think there are a couple of similarities across both of them, right? And also some nuances, right? I do think the change in digital transformation we're also seeing in the B2B world as well, right? So in the B2B world, in the past, you may not have leveraged search, social media, et cetera, to find your new, call it prospects, your suppliers, whatever that is, right? But that's changing, right? And so I think investing in, call it mobile first, e-commerce, et cetera, I think that's really impacting how B2B customer engagement and how businesses are done. I do think personalization, like I mentioned before, does bleed into the B2B ecosystem as well, where if I'm a customer, if I'm a business, I want to ensure that whatever is being fed to me, whatever segmentation, whatever is relevant for me, so that I can have better decisions, I guess, input on which supplier, which company I want to work with, right? And then I think finally what's a little bit different is more of this like self-service model as well. We're seeing, because of like cost efficiency, scalability, right, leveraging chat and like ChatGPT, generative AI, I think companies are actually going to be engaging more, and other companies are going to be leveraging more of this kind of technology so that it can really hopefully answer a lot of your fundamental rudimentary questions until it's necessary to kind of involve an actual person to do kind of the final closing touches of a deal. I think a lot of the engagements will be through a chatbot that is continuing to get smarter, by the day, actually. Okay. Hopefully that answers your question, Alexander.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Any other questions before we go back to our daily lives?
So I've just seen a question in the chat that maybe I can answer regarding kind of connecting with us and what else do we offer. The best place to reach us is on our websites and our social media platforms. That'll give you a great rundown of all the classes we've got, all of the courses, any webinar, any free content coming up in the future. And I'll also introduce you to some of the instructors we work with as well. So yeah, if that's of interest to you, and if the products we have are interest to you, then yeah, I suggest you find us on our website or any of our social media. And obviously, if anyone else has any questions, then please shoot them in the chat now. This is your one chance. You're in a room with Albert here, and he's there to answer and support you. So please use this time while you can.
Yes, and if you want to connect over LinkedIn, please find me. I'm fairly easy, Albert Chan at Meta. Pretty easy to find me. Great. Well, I think that might conclude our session today, Adam and group.
Yeah, that's brilliant. As we say, Albert's kind of said you can reach out to him on LinkedIn there. So if there's any questions you didn't feel like you wanted to ask in this forum, then obviously Albert's there to support you with that. And I'd raise a virtual hand. Thank you very much, Albert. That was brilliant. We really enjoyed it. So to everyone that attended, obviously you'll get the recording after the session. So you can reread that and re-look through that at your leisure. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a great rest of your day, evening, or whatever it is. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.